class. In today's class, we are going to discuss a new topic, that is fruit. So, see, after fertilization occurs, okay, inside the ovule would convert into a seed, whereas the ovary would develop into a fruit. So, in that case, we can say that a fruit is a ripened ovary. Alright, so see the definition here. After fertilization, the ripened or mature ovary is called fruit. Alright. Now, the parts of fruit. Any fruit would consist of two parts. Alright. First one is pericarp, or which is commonly known as the fruit wall, whereas the second part or the other part is the seed. Okay. So first, regarding the pericarp or the fruit wall, see, it develops from the wall of the ovary. Okay. The ovarian wall itself after fertilization would eventually convert into a fruit. Alright. Now, it may be dry or fleshy. Like you know of various types of fruits, right? Like certain fruits are very juicy, like mango, right? Whereas certain fruits, they are very dry, like you can say in case of rice or wheat. The edible part of the rice or wheat is the seed. We basically eat the seed. But the husk that remains on top of the seed, that's very dry, isn't it? So fruits can be of two types. They can be dry or fleshy. We'll discuss them in details under classification of fruit. Next. If pericarp is fleshy, okay, only in case of fruits which are fleshy, the fleshy pericarp can again differentiate into three distinct layers. Okay, fleshy fruits can possess three distinct layers in their pericarp. Now, what are they? First, epicarp. Epicarp is the outer covering of the fleshy fruit. Alright. Next, mesocarp. Mesocarp is the middle layer. Alright. Whereas endocarp is the innermost layer. So do remember, there are two types of fruit. One is fleshy and other is dry. In case it is fleshy, the pericarp will be again consisting of three distinct layers. The outermost epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and the innermost endocarp. Alright. Now, next is seed. Now, of course, we'll be discussing after fruit, the topic is seed. Okay, we'll be discussing seed in details. Alright, so here I'll be just giving you the definition to seed. That is, it is a ripened ovule. So if we say that the fruit is a ripened ovary, so do remember the seeds are ripened ovule. Alright, which contains the progeny of the new generation. So eventually the seed itself will contain the progeny or the progenitor of the next generation, which will later on give rise to a new plant. Alright, next. Now, this part is very important for your exam, and that is the types of fruits. Fruits can be of three types on the basis of their origin, how they are originating or how they are being formed. Alright. First category is true fruit or eucarp. Do remember here, eu means true. Wherever in biology, wherever you come across the term eu, okay, means true. And carp means fruit. So, of course, the meaning stands here, eu, true, carp, fruit, so true fruit, isn't it? So, what is a true fruit? See, these fruits develops directly from the ovary. Okay, so in case of fruit directly develops from the ovary and no other floral part or accessory part are involved in the development of the fruit, in that case we will call it a true fruit. Do remember, most fruits are true fruits. Mostly the fruits are going to be true fruits. Example is mango. Okay, next, false fruit or pseudocarp. So just like wherever you get the term eu means true in bio, likewise pseudo also means false. Okay, so pseudocarp means false fruit. Now what is a false fruit? Just now I have told you, if a fruit directly develops from the ovary, it will be regarded as a true fruit. Now suppose while the fruit is developing, some other floral part, say the thalamus or any other floral part, is also associated in the development of the fruit. In that case, we will be calling it a false fruit. So that means fruits which are developed from any other floral part other than the ovary, they will be regarded as false fruits. Okay, see the definition. If any other floral part takes part in the fruit formation apart from the ovary, it is called as false fruit. Example would be apple, pear, and in apple and pear, the fleshy thalamus, it is the thalamus of the fruit that is edible. So what we are actually eating in the apple or pear is not the ovarian wall or the ovary. Rather we are consuming the fleshy receptacle or fleshy thalamus. Alright. Next, parthenocarpic fruit. Now sometimes what happens is without fertilization also the ovule might convert into a fruit. Okay, so without fertilization, if the ovule develops into a fruit, then we will call it a parthenocarpic fruit. Okay, and parthenocarpic fruits, because they are formed without fertilization, hence they are all seedless. Alright, see this? If ovary develops into a fruit without fertilization, it is called a parthenocarpic fruit. Example will be banana and grapes, and they are all seedless. Alright, so these are the three types of fruit. I hope all of you have understood it clearly. Next, let us discuss classification of fruits. So now let us learn regarding classification of fruits. Okay, so here I have given you a chart regarding classification of fruits. This chart is very important, and before you go into detailed studies, you must first learn the chart. Okay, otherwise it can get really messy sometimes. Okay, because there are so many categories. That's why first learn the chart properly, then go into detailed discussion. Okay, so now as per the chart, as you can see, fruits can be classified into three distinct categories. First category being simple fruits, then comes aggregate fruit, and then comes the composite fruit. Okay, I'll give you an overview regarding each of the things here, and then we will go into details discussion of each of the category. Okay, so first, simple fruit. Simple fruits means fruits which develops from syncarpous ovary. So all of you know by now, syncarpous means fused carpels, isn't it? In a flower, if all the carpels remains fused together, that is called syncarpous condition, right? So in case if a flower develops from syncarpous ovary, we will call it a simple fruit. Okay. Now, simple fruit can be again divided into two categories, dry and fleshy. Dry fruits means where the pericarp is undifferentiated. That means the pericarp will be one layered. It is not going to be divided into the epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Rather, it would be dry and consisting of only one layer. Okay. On the other hand, fleshy fruits means pericarp differentiated. That means now the fruits would be possessing outer epicarp, middle mesocarp and innermost endocarp. Alright, that's the simple meaning. Alright, now dry fruits again can be of two types. As you can see, dehiscent and indehiscent. Dehiscence, the word itself means breakdown, isn't it? So in that case, dry dehiscent fruits means fruits which will break down. Dehiscent means something that will break down. So it will break down automatically at maturity for dispersal of the seeds. Okay. But indehiscent means the fruit which would not break down automatically. Okay. So in such fruits, how would the seed gets dispersed? The seed would be only dispersed by the destruction or decomposition of the pericarp. Okay. Understood that? Fine. Now, dehiscent fruits can be of 5 types, as you can see: legume, follicle, siliqua, silicula and capsule. On the other hand, indehiscent fruits can be of 4 types: caryopsis, achene, cypsela and nut. All of that in details we'll be discussing later on. Okay. Next, regarding fleshy fruits, I have already told you these are fruits where the pericarp will be tri-layered, that is epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp would be present. Alright, they can be of again various types like drupe, berry, pepo, pome, hesperidium, bilausta and amphisarca. Alright. Fine. So for your exam purpose, you can see so many categories I've written. Out of that, if you ask me which is the most important for your exam, of course, it is the fleshy fruits. It is the fleshy fruits from where maximum questions have been asked. Alright. Now, Moving to the next category, aggregate fruit. Aggregate fruits, they develop from apocarpous ovary. That means, suppose in a flower, there are many carpels present and the carpels are all free. Free carpels would be known as apocarpous condition, isn't it? Now, when the flower after fertilization would convert into a fruit, what would exactly happen, you see? Each carpel will give rise to one fruitlet. Okay, each carpel will give rise to one fruitlet. All the carpels will give rise to many fruitlets, isn't it? And all those fruitlets together when makes a single fruit, that fruit would be regarded as aggregate fruit, isn't it? Because it's an aggregation of so many fruitlets together. That's why we call it aggregate fruit. So do remember, aggregate fruits develops from apocarpous condition or apocarpous ovary. Okay. Now, aggregate fruits again can be of four types: entario of achene, entario of berries, entario of drupe, and entario of follicle. Now, if you might be thinking, what is entario? Entario means aggregate. Entario, the word itself means aggregate. Alright, fine. The last category now, that is composite fruit. Composite fruits, they develop from the entire inflorescence. When the whole inflorescence exists consisting of so many flowers, that will completely convert into a single fruit. Okay, the whole inflorescence will convert into a single fruit. That would be known as a composite fruit. Now, composite fruits can be of two types only, that is Pseurosis and Syconus. Alright, so in the next part, we are going to discuss all of these terms that you have learned or that you have come to know. All of that terms will be discussing in details in the next section. Alright, so let's start. So now, let us discuss the simple fruit first. So as you know already, simple fruit develops from syncarpous ovary. Alright. Now, the simple fruits can be of two types, that is dry and fleshy. Alright. So first we are discussing the dry fruits. So dry fruits means the pericarp undifferentiated. Means the pericarp will not be possessing epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. There will be no differentiation in it and it will be unilayered. Okay. Now, it can be again of two types. So the simple dry fruits can be again of two types. First is dehiscent, that means, of course you know the meaning, it will break down automatically for seed dispersal at maturity, and in dehiscent means the fruits will not break down until and unless something from outside or some external force should come and open the fruit. Automatically it will not open up. Okay, for seed dispersal, either the pericarp has to break down or else it has to undergo decomposition. Alright, now dehiscent fruits can be of the following types. First, legume or pod. Okay, see, legume or pod, it develops from unilocular superior monocarpillary. Mono means one and carpel. Okay, monocarpillary ovary, and it dehisces or breaks down from both the sutures. You have learned already under placentation ventral and dorsal sutures, isn't it? So in this fruit, both ventral and dorsal suture will start to break down at the maturity of the fruit for dispersal of seeds. Alright, example is of course pea, okay, and gram. Next, follicle. Follicle is exactly like legume, means it will develop from unilocular superior monocarpillary ovary. Okay, but the difference is that here, in case of follicle, the dehiscence will be occurring only from one suture. In legume, both sutures, and here it will break down from one suture. That's the only difference. Okay, so it is a legume which dehisces from a single suture only. Example will be Calotropis. Alright, now next, Siliqua. See, it develops from bicarpillary, means two carpels, unilocular ovary with parietal placentation. Okay, you already know parietal placentation means where the placenta would remain at the periphery, isn't it? Parietal placentation, and dehiscence occurs from base to apex. Okay, example would be mustard and radish. Okay, so basically do remember, Siliqua is a kind of a fruit that is a characteristics of mustard family, or technically we call it Brassicaceae family. Okay, next, Silicula. It's a short, broad and flat siliqua. So it's exactly like siliqua with few seeds. In case of siliqua, there was a lot of seeds present, but in silicula, it is same like siliqua but with a few seeds and it is broad. Okay. Example will be Iberis and Capsula. Okay. Next, capsule. It develops from multicarpillary, means many carpels. Multicarpillary, syncarpous ovary. Dehiscence may occur by various ways. Now, breakdown of the fruit can occur by various ways, like by pores. In the fruit or at maturity, certain pores will be formed and through that pores, the seeds would be dispersed. Example is opium and argemone. Next, by locules or valve formation, that will be observed in cotton. Next, by septa, that is in linseed, and by breakdown into fragments. The fruit itself will break down into certain sections or into certain fragments. That would be occurring in datura. Okay, so these examples are very important. Alright, next, indehiscent fruits. Indehiscent fruits are of 4 types. First is Caryopsis. See here, it develops from monocarpillary unilocular ovary and pericarp is completely fused with the seed coat. This is very important. Pericarp is completely fused with the seed coat. Okay. Example will be all the cereals, that is wheat, maize, rice, etc. Alright. Next, akene. Caryopsis and akene are almost the same. There is no much of difference. The only difference is that here in Caryopsis you have seen that pericarp is completely fused with the seed coat, but in akene you will find it is not completely fused with the seed coat. That's the only difference. Rest everything is same. So see here, it develops from monocarpillary unilocular ovary. Pericarp is not completely fused with the seed coat. Example is mirabilis. Alright. Next, Cypsela. Develops from bicarpillary unilocular inferior ovary. This is the first time I am mentioning a fruit developed from inferior ovary. To remember that. Okay. Calyx is hair-like and called pappus, which helps in the dispersal of seeds. Okay. The calyx will be hair-like and they are unique and termed as pappus, and they would help in dispersal of seeds at the majority of the fruit. Example is sunflower, zinnia, etc. Now here do remember, this fruit Cypsela is a characteristic of Compositae family or sunflower family. Okay. Next, nut. Develops from polycarpillary superior ovary. Pericarp is sometimes hard or woody. Okay. Examples are anacardium, that is cashew nut, lychee, trapa, oak, etc. About lychee, there is something very unique you should know. See, in the lychee, which is the edible part? The edible part of lychee is neither the pericarp. Pericarp is that outermost pill of the lychee. Okay, that is the pericarp. And the seed you already know, the brown color, large sized, internally located, that is the seed. So in between that white and juicy part that we eat, that's actually a part that has been developed from integument. When we'll be discussing seed, under that we'll be discussing the structure of the ovule in details. In the structure of the ovule, you will learn about integuments, okay? But as of now, just try remembering that the edible part of lychee develops from extra integuments, which develops from the funiculus. All these terms you will learn when we discuss ovule, okay? And this extra integument is known as aril, A-R-I-L, aril, okay? So do remember this, aril. So if I ask you now, which is the edible part of lychee? Your answer is aril, okay? So this being the dry fruits. Next, let us discuss a very important part, or the most important part under the fruits, that is fleshy fruits. So now for the most important part under fruit, that is fleshy fruits. See, fleshy fruits, as you already know, here the pericarp will be differentiated into epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp, isn't it? And the fleshy fruits can be of these 7 types. Let us start with drupe. The most important for the exam is drupe. So, see, mostly it is one-seeded fruit with pericarp differentiated into epicarp, mesocarp, and the endocarp specially is going to be hard. Okay, hard and stony endocarp. Examples are mango. In the mango, the edible part is mesocarp. See, edible part would be mesocarp. In the mango, if you try to understand here, the outermost skin of the mango, the peel that you remove while eating the mango, that is actually the epicarp. Then the fibrous juicy part that we eat, that's the mesocarp. And the hardened stony endocarp will be surrounding the seed. Alright, so example is mango and edible part is mesocarp. It's very important. Okay, next, coconut. In coconut also, the outermost uniform brown layer in a ripened and mature coconut is the epicarp. The inside that would remain the fibrous coir-like part, isn't it? That is again used for making ropes and many other commercial benefit it has, isn't it? That is actually the mesocarp. And the hard and shell-like stony part that will cover up or that will act as a shell to the coconut, that is actually the endocarp. So what is the edible part of coconut then? Epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp of course are not edible parts. Edible part of the coconut is endosperm. Endosperm is a food-laden tissue that's present inside the seed. So it is the part of the seed that we consume in a coconut. Another example is of course walnut. Okay. Next, berry. It is one to many seeded. So berries are mostly known for multiple seeds. Okay. Epicarp forms outer skin, mesocarp is fleshy, whereas there is a membrane like endocarp present. Examples are tomato, guava, papaya, grapes, banana, brinjal and chili. Examples are very, very important. Okay. And one exception is there, that's betel nut. Betel nut is also a berry. Why it's an exception? That's because it is one-seeded. Berries are mostly possessing multiple seeds, isn't it? But betel nut is an exception for possessing a single seed. Okay. Next, pepo. Develops from tricarpillary syncarpous inferior ovary. Do you remember? And epicarp forms outer skin. Mesocarp and endocarp are fleshy and edible. Also, there is one very specific characteristic of this fruit. Sometimes a few of these fruits under pepo might turn bitter or they might taste bitter. Why? Due to the presence of a chemical in it, that's tetracyclic triterpenes. Okay, I think all of you are getting a small idea that which of the fruits may sometime turn bitter, isn't it? And that is cucumber. Other examples are gourd, watermelon. Okay. Next, pome. It develops from syncarpous and inferior ovary, and edible part is the fleshy thalamus. So already I think all of you have understood what it must be. Of course, it is apple and pear. So these are pseudocarp or false fruits. Okay. Next, Hesperidium. It develops from multicarpillary syncarpous superior ovary with exile placentation, and epicarp and mesocarp would fuse together to form the outer skin or rind of the fruit. Okay, and the endocarp will move inside or inward and will form some chambers. From these chambers will arise certain juicy hair-like structures, and those juicy hair-like structures are edible. Again, if you try imagining, juicy hair-like structure will be present in which kind of fruits? Of course, citrus fruits, isn't it? So Hesperidium's example will be orange and all other citrus fruits. Alright. Next, Balausta. Develops from multilocular syncarpous inferior ovary again, and epicarp here is tough and leathery. Mesocarp forms infoldings and endocarp is papery. So by these descriptions you will have to imagine what kind of fruit I am talking about. Outermost epicarp is hard and leathery, whereas the mesocarp is kind of membranous, and it would form some enfoldings, and the endocarp specially is paper-like, papery, okay. And what we eat, the juicy testa of the seeds are edible. So in this fruit, the seeds would turn juicy, and the juicy testa, what is a testa? You will get to know when we will discuss in details about seeds. So in short, right now you just try to understand that it's the juicy seeds that will be edible. So of course, by now you might have got a little idea. The example should be pomegranate, isn't it? Because it would remain covered by a papery, layer, and that's what is the endocarp. All right. Next is Anthisarca, the last one. It develops from multilocular superior ovary. Epicarp is hard and woody, but mesocarp, endocarp and swollen placenta would be fleshy and edible. So it's the mesocarp, endocarp and swollen placenta that would fuse together and form a creamy layer. Okay, creamy layer. And that creamy layer is edible. Example would be wood apple. Okay, outermost epicarp is hard and stony, but inside it is creamy, isn't it? So wood apple is the example. So this is all about the fleshy fruits. Next, let us move on to aggregate and composite fruits. So now we have reached the last part of fruit where we discuss the aggregate and composite fruits. Alright, so first regarding the aggregate fruits, as you already know that it develops from apocarpous ovary. Okay, apocarpous ovary means free carpels, isn't it? So in a flower where there are many free carpels present, each carpel will give rise to a fruitlet, and all the fruitlets together when makes up a single fruit, we will of course call it a aggregate fruit. Alright. Now the aggregate fruits are of 4 types. Alright. First, entario of achenes. Fine. Next is entario of berries, entario of drupes and entario of follicles. Now, under the simple fruits, you have already learned the meaning of achene, berry, drupes and follicle, isn't it? So here, what it simply means is, it's an aggregate of achene, aggregate of berry, aggregate of drupe and aggregate of follicle, isn't it? As you know, entario itself means aggregate, right? So under this section, I'm again explaining to you what is achene, berry, drupe and follicle. That doesn't make any sense, right? So in this section, all you need to do is learn some important examples, alright? Like entario of achenes, the example would be strawberry. Entario of berries, example would be atrobotries. Entario of drupes, example would be raspberry, and entario of follicles, example would be micheria. Again, I'm repeating, these examples are very important, try to remember them. Alright, next. The last one is composite fruits. Again, composite fruits, as you already know, develops from the entire inflorescence. So the whole entire inflorescence axis consisting of various flowers would convert into a single fruit, right? So each flower would be giving rise to one section of the fruit. That's all about the composite fruit, right? Now, composite fruits can be of 2 types again. First is sorosis. Now, sorosis develops from spike, spadix and catkin inflorescence. So, you already know about spike, spadix and catkin inflorescence. We have discussed them under the inflorescence section, isn't it? So, in that case, do remember sorosis would develop from spike, spadix and catkin inflorescence. Examples are many like jackfruit, mulberry, pineapple, etc. On the other hand, the last one is cyconus. Cyconus develops from Hypanthodium inflorescence. Hypanthodium is a specialized inflorescence, isn't it? And it is applicable to Moraceae family, that is the ficus family, isn't it? So in that case, examples would be the ficus species, that is banyan, peepal and gulab. Fine. So that's all about fruit. So in the next class, we'll start with seeds.